Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and it's one thing that has been talked to death. It's Bioware's Anthem. From the bugs, to the glitches, to the lack of content, to the design problems, the severe mismanagement of the project, the painful lack of meaningful content, the meaningless loot, the lackluster story, the broken promises, the radio silence. If I were to document all of these controversies surrounding this game, it would most likely beat the current record holder, which was Destiny 2, with its baker's dozen, that's 13 if you didn't know, controversies within a scant 4-month period. One thing I haven't really gone into much, though, is Electronic Arts and Bioware seemingly blaming gamers for the game's failure. And as it seems that EA's CEO Andrew Wilson has doubled down on blaming gamers, albeit in your typical corporate doublespeak manner, I thought it high time that I finally put pen to paper, or in this case voice to microphone, on the aspect of the Anthem controversy. First, a little housekeeping to get out of the way. As many of you are now aware, there was some confusion as to the format of my videos that got some people frustrated. So in order to take care of this, I decided to outline the format of these videos for about a week to remind everyone. And yes, I know a decent number of you have also asked for graphical elements for this, and I have a couple of kind individuals offering to help me with that in my Discord, so I'm going to take them up on that and see what they can come up with. So here we go, the short version video format. Step 1, introduction and overview of the topic being discussed, which is what we just did. Step 2, outline the facts with as little editorialization as possible, but let's face it, if I do editorialize, there's probably a good reason for it and it'll happen. Hell, it'll probably happen right here in this video. You don't know. Hell, I don't even know because I haven't even recorded it yet, and while I do have talking points, these videos are normally not scripted. And besides, with the way things have gone these past few months on this channel, I'm choosing to take a page out of Captain Picard's book when he said, if we're going to be damned, let's be damned for who we really are. So I'm going to stop sanitizing my own personality from these videos as much as I have been. Granted, it will equate for some more rambling like I'm very much doing right now, but so be it. This is me. Step 3, opinions and editorialization with a secret hidden fourth step that people might have forgotten about, new viewers hitting subscribe. As always, links to the sources used will be in the description down below. So first off, a little bit of the backstory, as I did mention just a moment ago that Bioware blamed gamers over Anthem's failure. Now, 100% transparency, this is a leak from an inside source to MMOG fails, and it has not been corroborated. However, that statement reads, I was also told that the leadership at Bioware is actually blaming their players, their customers, and the vitriol they spew as the reason of why the game is not selling as well as it should. They are also blaming EA for saying the game can be patched later because of the game as a service model. Neither EA nor Bioware expected the pushback and hostility they received for delivering a product in such an unfinished state while selling it for full price. That is important backstories a few days ago. Actually, you know what? I have to interject here again because I have a personal bias against the writer of this article, Mike Futter, that I need to get out of the way and let you guys know about because it does have a bearing on how I treat this. The reason why I have a bias against this writer is because at one point in time, his girlfriend, also a writer for GameDaily.biz, claimed a moral outrage as a certain developer had apparently teabagged her fallen character during a live demo event playthrough of a video game. People assumed that it was the developers of Splitgate Arena Warfare, which at the time was named Wormhole Wars. Now, the developers of Splitgate were innocent, and they handled themselves masterfully throughout the whole ordeal. In fact, I'll go ahead and toss up a card for the video I posted covering that issue that should show up on your screen now. However, Mike Futter and his girlfriend, eager to score pity points, never bothered to rectify the clearly spurious allegations made against the Splitgate devs that they themselves caused, and as such, I do not see this person as being a credible journalist, nor is he a decent human being. That said, I think it reasonably certain that even Mike Futter is capable of copy-pasting Andrew Wilson's remarks, so we will continue. Now, in that interview, Andrew Wilson stated the following. We brought together these two groups of players who were making this emotional value calculation on two different vectors. One was traditional Bioware story-driven content, and the other was this action-adventure type content. About the 30 or 40 hour mark, they really had to come together and start working in on the elder game. At that point, everyone kind of went, oh, hang on a minute. Now the calculation is off. It's off because I've got a friend who sits in this other category of player. They want to play the game a certain way. I want to play the game a certain way. The promise was we can play together, and that's not working very well. Oh, by the way, I'm used to 100 hours of Bioware's story, and that's not what I got. Or I expected that this game would have meaningfully advanced the action component that we'd seen in games like Destiny before, and I don't feel like it has. Now, there was a lot more to cover in that interview, but it was all EA speak about loot boxes, and it's really nothing we haven't heard 1,000 times before, so I think it best to focus on the Anthem info here. First, if the leak can be trusted, then Bioware, or at least their management, is more infantile than we had previously been led to believe. They knew they had an incomplete and extremely rushed game on their hands. We also know from Jason Schreier's article on the behind the scenes of the development of Anthem that they didn't even know what it was they were making until E3 2018. With epic levels, pun intended, of mismanagement for the entirety of the project and no firm hands in a leadership role, Bioware leads chose to instead rely on, quote, Bioware magic, that almost religious belief that everything would come together in the end because it always had in the past, which is a ridiculously foolish mentality to take for a project manager and a person in a leadership or management role. Hope for the best, plan for the worst, and make damn well certain you don't fail. When it comes to a product, a piece of creative art that is being sold to the public, you cannot rely on faith and hope to carry you through. That is a path to failure, as we saw with Anthem and with Mass Effect Andromeda as well. The thing that these hopefuls forgot about was that the majority of the staff, the ones that made the Bioware name great to begin with, aren't even there anymore to be relied upon to make things come together. But to address Andrew Wilson's statement specifically, first he starts off immediately with the wrong thing to say. We brought together these two groups of players who were making this emotional value calculation on two different vectors. Right there. Emotional value calculation. Now, this is a heavy implication that the players that were upset or frustrated with the quality of the game we know was mismanaged, incomplete, and broken, were only upset because they were acting from a basis of emotion and not a standing of objective definitions of quality, in which Anthem failed all but one of those categories and only succeeded in looking beautiful by the 50-mile-an-hour paint job rule and the fact that Frostbite is a beautiful engine. The 50-mile-an-hour paint job rule comes out of car paint jobs that look amazing when they go by you, but at 50 miles an hour. But when the car is stopped and you manage to actually see the paint, it's run in a few places, maybe a bit thin in some areas, splotchy, just not all that good. These two groups were the ones looking for a looter shooter and the ones looking for a traditional Bioware story. These are not two distinctly different categories of players. They're not mutually exclusive any more than the two different aspects of the game are mutually exclusive either. You are no more required to have a terrible story in a looter shooter than you are required to have different gameplay mechanics in a story-driven game. Strong, meaningful story that Bioware is known for in one hand, fantastic looter shooter in the other. Andrew Wilson is heavily implying that you must choose one or the other. What most gamers are saying is take those two hands and put them together. Give us a Bioware story and a strong looter shooter that would make the Destiny franchise tremble in fear. The only thing that says you would not be able to do that would be budget and time, which we know Bioware definitely ran out of the latter. Another point in Wilson's statement regarding gamer expectations is that we were told by Bioware that this would not be a traditional Bioware game. We all knew going into this that the story was not going to be the primary focus, and that's fine. You don't want to pony up the time and money to make a game with an engaging story. It's worked out for PUBG, Fortnite, Overwatch, and Apex Legends, not to mention your yearly or biannual iterative shooters like your Battlefield games, so yeah, why not a looter shooter? Hell, Destiny 2 story mode was laughable to an extreme degree, and despite their cringe-inducing launch, they seem to be recovering quite well, so yeah, why not a looter shooter with a lackluster story? It's easier to do. God knows most of Bioware's most talented writers have already parted ways, so they might not even have the creative chops to pull off a narrative story anymore. We need only look at Andromeda's anemically basic and pedestrian story for proof enough of that, so yeah, why not? The problem is, Anthem is objectively bad. Even a Vulcan with an overdeveloped sense of apathy would be able to tell the game should never have been released in the state that it was in. The fact that it was speaks volumes about Electronic Arts' levels of giving a shit about creating a good game for their customers. No, they would rather focus on their bottom line to the exclusion of all else and then blame the backlash on the gamers that bought this hot, steaming grumpy in the middle of the living room carpet for not being grateful their faces weren't being rubbed into it while it was still fresh. Bioware blames the gamers, allegedly. EA blames the gamers. This is a nasty trend that has been going around for the past while, not only in the gaming market, and it is a disturbing trend to see. You have a problem with our product? The fault lies with you. Even though they freely admitted the game was in a deplorable state, and like every single other live services title on offer, it was released broken, buggy, and empty, with a full-price sticker attached to it and a promissory note of further content down the road where the rest of the game should have been. My advice? Steer clear of Electronic Arts. Steer clear of any live services game until well after launch. Don't pre-order, don't let the hype suck you in, don't let them woo you with fancy Frostbite engine graphics. You're rewarding them for their despicable behavior if you do buy it at launch or if you pre-order it. So please, for the love of all that is holy, for the love of our games, don't give in to EA. Wait for the reviews, wait for the content. Trust me, it will be worth it. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.